Pitchers and catchers report this week. What's the biggest question mark for the Giants heading into the 2026 season? That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, thanks to you, the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing the fact of the matter that pitchers and catchers report this week. Giants finally announced the coaching staff, I think right after we posted the show on Friday. And last but not least, the biggest worry heading into the 2026 season. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Okay, well, speaking of games, obviously the big game happened yesterday, the Super Bowl. I know there are probably a lot of Niners fans that are also Giants fans that listen and watch this show, so I'm not trying to tick anybody off, but I'll just be honest with you. I am a Raiders fan through and through. Look, it's a tough go for me. At least the Giants won back in the day, but the Raiders haven't done a ton. And if you're wondering, Alan, how in the world are you Giants Raiders? Yeah, there's not many of us running around out here, but it's a very simple story. My mom, obviously I grew up in Concord. My mom worked in the city, so we got Giants tickets. My first Giants game I went to, JT Snow hit a home run. They all left the game, and we got to hang out by them and see them leave. And Dusty Baker rode on his motorcycle. I got to tell Dusty Baker this same story at the Rivercats game over the summer, and he said, I remember that motorcycle. So that was a lot of fun. Raiders, well, my parents didn't have a NFL team, a football team, and we had a neighbor that was a huge Raiders fan, and that's just how it happened. So look, either way, I think I kind of wanted the Seahawks to win more than the Patriots, and the Seahawks got it done. And now, when the Super Bowl ends, that means that baseball season is about to begin. That's right. Pitchers and catchers report this week, and we are obviously very excited. Let me just put it out there. There doesn't seem to be a lot of buzz with what the Giants could do. Seems like all the moves have been made. There are some pitchers still hanging around and some free agents, but doesn't feel like the Giants are looking at any of them. And I'm really glad that the spring training time is upon us, because some of y'all get a little anxious, okay? And when you get anxious, you tend to take it out on those who are closest to you. Some of the comments are getting a little annoyed with, some things that we've talked about and maybe thought could happen for the Giants. And the reality is, when we have these conversations, when I tell you something based on something that I'm hearing, I will make it abundantly clear. I will make it extremely clear. Hey, I heard this. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. I heard some things with Jung-Hoo Lee back in the day. I heard some things with Marco Luciano when they were trying to figure out where he was going to play, right? So when I hear something, I will say that I'm hearing something. Talking about an article that says that Framber Valdez could go to the Giants, that's not me saying that I think Framber Valdez is going to go to the Giants, okay? The same way I said, and we read articles, and we thought about Harrison Bader going to the Giants, we said it could happen, and it did. That was not me saying I'm hearing Harrison Bader is going to the Giants, and I've never said Framber Valdez was going to go to the Giants either. So a lot of people are starting to get anxious. I get it. It's been a long offseason. Some of the additions that were made you go, yay. Some of them made you go, nay. A lot of them made you go, I don't really know how to feel about this. So that's where we're at with the Giants. And with pitchers and catchers reporting, the one thing that we can still, I believe, hang out there is Max Scherzer. He said he was going to wait. He said he was going to take his time. And obviously, he has that connection to Tony Vitello. So that's always a possibility. He could be a spot starter. He could throw in some relief. He can do some different things for the Giants. But as far as some of the other names that are left, it feels like the Giants are pretty solid in what they felt like they were able to accomplish this offseason. So there it is. Just wanted to lay that out for you. I got this pretty informative article from Mercury News, Justice De Los Santos, and he's really good beat writer for the Giants. And same thing, he's saying as Super Bowl 60 fades away, the Giants are beginning spring training this week when pitchers and catchers report on Wednesday. And while every spring has its own storylines, this one is especially oozing with intrigue. The rookie manager, Tony Vitello, the next 40 or so days in the desert will be his last opportunity to prepare for the jump from collegiate head coach to major league manager. For Bryce Eldridge, this will be an opportunity to win a spot on the opening day roster. There's also the World Baseball Classic, which coincides with Cactus League play. I think it's interesting that Justice is also bringing up that it's not a foregone conclusion that Bryce will be on this roster, because I think going into the offseason, I felt like it would be. He also writes, in the coming days, we'll roll out previews of the specific position groups. For now, here's a general overview. With respect to the Giants' major league acquisitions, the most important addition to the franchise was Vitello. It has always been Vitello. There have been college coaches who have managed in the majors, the most recent example being the Milwaukee Brewers' Pat Murphy. Unlike Murphy and others, Vitello is jumping straight from college to the majors with no professional experience as a player, as a coach, or as a manager. Vitello will have plenty of support as he prepares for his first season as the Giants manager. We'll talk about that in the later segment. And he continues to write, Vitello's emphasis on player development will be interesting to see how his level of involvement changes on a day-to-day basis. He next gets to Bryce is right. Bryce Eldridge, when Buster Posey was 20, he was still at Florida State. When Bryce Eldridge was 20, he made his major league debut. Eldridge, now 21, joined the Giants last September as the team tried to snatch a wild card spot. He didn't produce in the small sample, hitting 107 over 37 plate appearances, but he exhibited good plate discipline and showcased his ability to smash the baseball. Over the next 6 weeks, the Giants will have to determine whether Eldridge is ready for the majors or if he needs more time with AAA Sacramento. San Francisco's recent signing of Luis Arias and Harrison Bader could increase Eldridge's chances of making the roster because they lengthen the lineup and take less pressure off Eldridge to produce immediately. The Giants will also have to figure out the imperfect pairing of Eldridge and Rafael Devers at first base and DH. Eldridge is 7 years younger, and his 6'7" frame makes for a big target, but Devers looked competent in his first taste of first base last year and has expressed his preference to play the field. Next subject he gets to, Matos' last dance. There was a time when Marco Luciano, second mention of Marco Luciano in this show in the first, 10 minutes, and Luis Matos were considered the Giants' future. By the end of spring, they might both be relegated to the past. Luciano was claimed off waivers by the Pittsburgh Pirates before the winter meetings and is currently in the New York Yankees minor league system. Matos, who is out of minor league options, could be nearing the end of his San Francisco tenure. Matos doesn't have a clear fit on the opening day roster. Drew Gilbert didn't hit all that well in his short time in the majors, but featured an above average glove. Gerard Encarnacion, who's also out of options, barely played last season due to numerous injuries, but still has elite power and can play first base in a pinch. The 24-year-old Matos has excellent bat-to-ball skills and a bit of pop, but he's never really seized a job when given the chance. He's played more than an entire regular season's worth of games, 178, over the last 3 seasons, and he's been worth a negative 1.4 WAR. He'll be in the mix to win a spot on the bench, but it's hard to say that he has a significant edge. He also gets into the bullpen, which we will again talk about later in the show, and then brings up World Baseball Classic. He says the Giants are sending 8 players on their 40-man roster to the World Baseball Classic, and none is more important than Logan Webb. The preseason tournament will disrupt the slow, methodical ramp-up that Webb typically enjoys leading up to opening day. His innings total between the Cactus League and the tournament won't look different compared to previous springs, but the intensity of those innings will be much higher for this time of the year. The Giants aren't exactly thrilled with Webb's participation, and Webb is the player they can least afford to lose. Aside from Webb, there are legitimate question marks with the rest of the rotation. If the Giants are going to make the postseason, it will need Webb to provide his typical 200 innings and low to mid threes ERA. So great stuff from Justice. Yeah, I think the Bryce Eldridge piece is really interesting. I'm one of those people that thought that Bryce was obviously going to be on the roster to start. They didn't bring in anybody that could really harm that situation. But Luis Arias, he is kind of a DH. I know they've said he's going to play second base, but if that doesn't work out, but you need his bat, this thing could get a little bit squirrely. So, yeah, those are some of the things to focus on, the preview as we get into spring training and pitchers and catchers reporting in just a couple days. On the other side, let's discuss the Giants coaching staff that they finally announced. You're feeling confident about Tony Vitello and his crew? More Locked On Giants coming up. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches. Hockey games that feel different right from the opening face-off. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All right, well, it's been talked about so much, and a lot of people are either confused or not thrilled or don't know how to feel about the Giants taking so long to announce their coaching staff. Well, the wait is over, okay? The Giants announced their coaching staff, and I have it right here for you. Jace Tingler, bench coach, hitting coach Hunter Mentz, assistant hitting coach Oscar Bernard, pitching coach Justin Message, assistant pitching coach Christian Wonders, director of Major League Pitching Frank Anderson, bullpen coach Jesse Chavez, first base coach Shane Robinson, third base coach Hector Borg, fielding coordinator and catching coach Alex Berg, Major League infield coach Ron Washington, quality control coach Tara Umatsu, bullpen catcher Eliezer Zambrano. All right, so we have this from Andrew Baggerly. Giants pitchers and catchers will report, and now he's saying that they're going to report on Tuesday, actually, and the team plans to have an entire coaching staff there to welcome them. It was either the worst kept secret or the most delayed news release of the offseason. But on Friday, the Giants finally announced their 13-person staff under new manager Tony Vitello, and there were no surprises among the group. The holdup, according to those familiar with the process, here we go, was that Vitello continued to pursue one more potential hire that didn't work out. It's kind of crazy that Baggerly got that information. He wanted somebody, it ended up not working out, so we had everything on hold. Vitello assembled a blend of pro experience and personal connections among his coaches to help him make the unprecedented transition to a major league dugout from the head coaching position at the University of Tennessee. Frank Anderson, who was Vitello's pitching coach at the University of Tennessee, will oversee mound operations as the Giants director of Major League Pitching. Bench coach Jace Tingler, the former San Diego Padres manager and Minnesota Twins bench coach who was Vitello's teammate at the University of Missouri, will bring a personal relationship along with Major League experience. The Giants will have two coaches who speak Spanish as their first language, retaining Oscar Bernard to continue as an assistant under new hitting coach Hunter Mentz, and promoting longtime minor league instructor Hector Borg to replace Matt Williams as third base coach. That's a big jump for Hector. There's a blend of experience and tech-savvy youth ranging from 73-year-old Ron Washington to 33-year-old Christian Wonders, who was hired away from the Tampa Bay Rays to serve as an assistant under new pitching coach Justin Message. Wonders previously worked for the Padres as a pitching science coordinator. Pitching science coordinator. Cool. Bullpen coach Jesse Chavez figures to bring an important player perspective to a staff that is otherwise light on big league service time, having retired a few months ago following an 18-year career in which he pitched for 9 different clubs. Although Vitello had full discretion to assemble his staff, he worked in collaboration with Zach Manassian and president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, to ensure the group had the range of skills and experience to cover all the anticipated blind spots. In addition to Anderson, whose 42-year college coaching career included the head coach position at Oklahoma State from 04 to 2012, Vitello poached strength and conditioning coach Quentin Eberhardt from his Volunteers staff. All right, so this is what Vitello had to say back in December at the winter meetings. I don't know what would fire up the fans or what will win you games or what will make the players happy. But selfishly, I was looking at who are the guys that I want to work with or get out of the vehicle every day and walk into the park with and be excited about just hanging out with, Vitello said. In baseball, there's a lot of work, but there's a lot of hangout time too. Certainly, it's a group of guys I'm excited to do that with. All right, Tony, be a little careful here talking about hanging out. And, I get it. It's all part of it. And he's a very chill guy. I will say this about Tony Vitello. I can see how some fans are a little bit worried, and I can see this thing possibly taking a Gabe Kapler turn if it doesn't work out, right? A lot of people have said, I get Gabe Kapler vibes from him. I don't necessarily get Gabe Kapler vibes from him, but I can see why somebody would say that. And if it doesn't work out or if they're not winning games, I could see kind of the shtick of it's all good and we're just trying to figure it out. I could see that getting old for some people, but we're not there yet. Hopefully we never get there. Hopefully they just play well and make the playoffs and win championships. And we can all say this was the best hire that the Giants have ever made. But I could see if it does go in that direction, some people not being terribly thrilled with how Tony Vitello goes about his business, but his track record says he's a winner and everywhere he's gone, he's won. So, that's something to, I guess, feel good about as far as the staff is concerned. Yeah. One thing that Andrew mentioned that I did find a little bit fascinating, and I didn't really notice this to start, is kind of the lack of MLB time and, coaches that haven't necessarily been in the big leagues. I don't think that's something that is extremely necessary, but the fact that they don't have a lot of it is something to at least keep an eye on. I do like, obviously, they got 2 guys in there whose first language is Spanish. I think that's very important just in the league. That's just the reality of the situation and who's on your team. But yeah, the idea that the Giants don't have a lot of, it would be one thing if they didn't have a lot of big league experience, but the manager played in the big leagues, but they're not really getting it from anywhere. So that is something to just, put a pin in and see how it goes. Now, if the Giants miss the playoffs, is it because they don't have enough big league experience on their coaching staff? No, I'm not saying that. But when it comes to how the players do relate to the coaches, I do think that a lot of coaches or a lot of players bring up, hey, this coach gets me. He knows the drill. We've kind of been through it. And if some players don't necessarily have that on the team, it could feel a little, I don't want to say lonely, but you just don't have a lot of coaches that can relate on that level. Obviously, they've been through the process and some have a ton of big league experience from the coaching perspective. But being a player, I do think it is something that players do appreciate. So not a huge deal, but just something that made me think, oh, yeah, I mean, if you're not going to have a coach that played in the bigs, you would think that maybe you get a little bit more experience in there from the coaching staff perspective. One more segment with you. What is the biggest worry for you of the 2026 season? I'll tell you what's mine when we return. More Locked On Giants coming up. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certification, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help. I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, you get posts seen by candidates who actually are a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Giants with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to LockedOnSFGiants.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. If you're a true diehard Giants fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and a 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to LockedOnSFGiants.supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find the link in the show notes. One more segment with you, and this question has been thrown around a little bit with spring training around the corner. The biggest worry for you for the 2026 season, of course, for the San Francisco Giants. So my worry, I had a couple that I was playing with. We just talked about the coaching staff and Tony Vitello. Y'all know I'm a Tony Vitello guy. You know that I really enjoyed watching the Tennessee teams and the bat flipping and all that. So I don't think Tony Vitello is my biggest worry. Another name that kind of popped into my head was Luis Arias playing second base. And that's a close one, but I do think what he's going to be able to do with the bat will, I guess, supersede the issues that he may have at second base. But I can tell you right now, there's going to be a double play that he boots or something like that. And you're going to say, Alan, I thought you said this wasn't going to be a worry. It's not that it's not a worry. It's just not my biggest worry. And of course, the Giants have so many utility guys from Tyler Fitzgerald to Christian Koss and of course, Casey Schmidt. So for me, I'm not necessarily worried about Luis Arias because late in games, he ain't going to be in the game. He's not going to be at second base. So as I'm doing process of elimination, the outfield, yeah, I mean, you'd like a little bit more juice, but I don't know that I would say the outfield either. So that leads me with probably the easiest answer here, and that's going to be the pitching staff. And more importantly, the starting rotation, because you're banking on two guys and you have Adrian Hauser, who has had some good notes, and you have Tyler Mahle, who has been a bit injured but pitched well when he was healthy. So two guys where Adrian Hauser, is he going to be able to be the pitcher that he was last season? And Tyler Mahle, is he going to be able to stay on the mound? And then past that, your Carson Wisenhunts. Goodbye to Kai Wei Tang. We'll miss you. But the Carson Wisenhunts, the Hayden Bird songs, the Blade Tidwells, who is going to show up there? Even Robbie Ray. I saw a comment, I think, on the show from Friday, and it said, Alan, I'm kind of worried about Robbie Ray, as far as him just slotting in as a dominant pitcher. Then you get Logan Webb going to the World Baseball Classic, and good for him representing the United States of America. We appreciate it, Logan, and you're going to do great things. But, that's something that we haven't seen before. So the starting rotation to me is my biggest worry. I mean, it got dark last season. It got dark, man. I mean, they couldn't find anybody to throw out there, and you slotted in Justin Verlander. Look, I'm not saying Max Scherzer at this point in time is going to be this shutdown pitcher, but what we saw from him in the World Series, look, he still has a little bit of juice left, and I think you got to go get him. You're just giving yourself more opportunities to figure it out with whoever ends up figuring it out for the season. And I don't know that they have enough guys in the mix, right? I mean, they got guys that are unproven and guys that we've seen them have flashes at times, but I don't know how sustainable it's been. So I would go get Scherzer again, to round out the whole show. I haven't heard anything personally, but that does seem like a fit that makes a ton of sense. And he can slot in if something just isn't working out or if there's an injury. Whoever it is, I'm just saying Tyler Mahle because he's coming off of injury from last season. Whoever it is, Max Scherzer can be your break in case of emergency starter, maybe even more than that. And of course, can come out of the bullpen if he's willing to do that or open to do that as well. So, yeah, I think it's pretty simple. My biggest worry is clearly the pitching staff and specifically the starting rotation. I know it's a little bit of a cop out, but that's just what it is. This was from MLB Trade Rumors. Given Hauser's inconsistent track record, lack of missed bats, and generally unsustainable level of home run suppression with the White Sox, it's a fairly steep price for the Giants to pay. Then again, San Francisco's Oracle Park is one of the most pitcher-friendly venues in the sport. So basically, they were saying at one point he was avoiding the long ball, and then eventually it all caught up with him and started giving up more home runs than we would like to see. When it comes to Tyler Mahle pitched for Bochy with the Rangers, but he did have some injuries there. This is from NBC Sports Bay Area. The 31-year-old signed with the Giants after a strong but injury-shortened season with the Rangers. That has been a theme in his career as he has made more than 20 starts just twice over the past 6 seasons. But he said he fixed some mechanical issues that were huge red flags and were leading to extra stress on the shoulder. Okay. Well, I mean, that's all we can hope for from Tyler Mahle. You know, seems like he's trying to figure some things out and try some new things this season. You got to stay healthy. So to me, it's clearly the biggest worry. There's some other issues out there. I mean, obviously the team needs to hit, but you know, adding Harrison Bader, adding Luis Arias, nobody there is going to kind of sway me from the pitching staff because that's just the most important piece. Patrick Bailey, we haven't talked about Patrick Bailey in a while. Look, the ABS will change some things, but Patrick Bailey is Patrick Bailey. He'll still throw runners out. We'll see what he can do with the bat, but yeah, there's no real worry there. Nothing that comes close to the pitching staff. And I'm going to say the starting rotation. I won't make it that general. I'll stick with the starting rotation because I am worried. I'm very, very worried. So we'll see what happens as pitchers and catchers report this week. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @Styles Files, Styles with an I. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Giants ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnSFGiants.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. We've made it, people. We've made it to spring training. Very excited to see what the Giants cook up this season and who kind of shows up here in spring training and makes a name for themselves. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.